What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get right into it. Arman Tsarukyan has made it clear where his loyalty lies ahead of UFC 324, openly rooting for Justin Gaethje to emerge victorious in the lightweight division's high-stakes main event. While Tsarukyan's own title future remains uncertain, the top contender believes Gaethje winning the interim championship could significantly improve his chances of securing a long-awaited shot at UFC Gold in 2026. Gaethje is set to headline UFC 324 against Paddy Pimblett, with the interim lightweight title on the line. Speaking with Helen Yee, Tsarukyan explained why he is firmly backing Gaethje in the matchup. According to Tsarukyan, a Gaethje victory would create a far more straightforward path toward a potential title fight for him. "I want Justin to beat Paddy because Justin will fight me," Tsarukyan said. "If Paddy wins, he will try to avoid me. He knows he's not like Justin." Tsarukyan's comments highlight the growing tension within the lightweight division, particularly surrounding Pimblett's rapid rise and his perceived reluctance to face elite contenders. It remains to be seen whether Pimblett will respond to Tsarukyan's remarks, but the narrative adds further intrigue to an already polarizing matchup. The timing of Tsarukyan's title ambitions is also closely tied to the status of reigning champion Ilia Topuria, who is currently taking time away from competition amid a highly publicized divorce. Tsarukyan expressed hope that a title opportunity could come either in the summer or toward the end of the year, depending on Topuria's availability. "If Ilia fights, I'll have to wait," Tsarukyan said. "If he doesn't fight this summer, then I'm next for the belt." Outside the octagon, Tsarukyan has remained active, continuing to sharpen his skills through grappling and wrestling competitions. Most recently, he competed at a Real American Freestyle event, where he reportedly dominated former NCAA champion Lance Palmer. Following that performance, Michael Chandler claimed he would absolutely smash Tsarukyan in a wrestling match. Tsarukyan quickly fired back on social media, dismissing the comment with humor, saying he didn't realize Chandler was also a comedian, a response that even Chandler's fans found difficult to ignore. Before we continue, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all our latest content. Moving on to another news. Michael Bisping has weighed in with a series of bold predictions for the UFC landscape in 2026, and several of his picks are already generating significant discussion among fans and analysts. As the year continues to take shape, fighters and pundits alike are offering their outlooks, and the former UFC middleweight champion did not shy away from making some strong calls. While traveling through Tbilisi, Georgia, Bisping shared his vision of how the UFC's championship picture will look by the end of 2026. One of his most notable predictions came in the bantamweight division, where he believes Merab Dvalishvili will reclaim the title before the year concludes. Given Merab's relentless pace and wrestling-heavy approach, Bisping sees him once again asserting dominance over the division. Bisping also predicted a shift at flyweight, despite the current strength of champion Joshua Van and former title holder Alexandre Pantoja. According to Bisping, rising knockout artist Manel Kape will ultimately emerge as champion. Although Kape previously lost a decision to Pantoja in 2025, Bisping emphasized the importance of growth and evolution, pointing to Kape's recent string of explosive finishes as evidence that he has elevated his game. Turning to the lightweight division, Bisping expressed confidence that Ilia Topuria will remain on the throne through the end of 2026, while acknowledging contenders such as Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, and Arman Tsarukyan. Bisping labeled Tsarukyan as a potential dark horse, but suggested the matchup may not materialize soon enough to dethrone Topuria. At welterweight, Bisping believes Islam Makhachev will continue his reign, even in what he described as the UFC's most stacked division. Despite the presence of elite contenders like Michael Morales and Kamaru Usman, Bisping remains convinced that Makhachev's skill set and composure will keep him unbeaten. Bisping also predicted continued dominance for Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight and Alex Pereira at light heavyweight, though he praised the rapid rise and dangerous potential of Carlos Ulberg. In the heavyweight division, Bisping picked Tom Aspinall to defeat Cyril Gane in a potential rematch, while admitting his confidence has slightly waned. Interestingly, he added that if Gane were to face Pereira for an interim title, he believes Gane would capture the belt. Bisping's predictions paint a picture of continuity mixed with calculated change, setting the stage for what could be a fascinating year in the UFC. Moving on to another news. Colby Covington may be signaling a major shift in his UFC career, as the longtime welterweight contender recently teased a potential move up to the middleweight division. Following a successful outing at a heavier weight, the outspoken former title challenger suggested that competing at 185 pounds could be in his future. Covington competed over the weekend at a Real American Freestyle wrestling event, where he faced former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold. Despite giving up significant size, Covington outworked Rockhold and earned a decisive victory on the scorecards. The performance appeared to bolster Covington's confidence in his ability to compete against larger opponents. During the post-event press conference, Covington was asked directly about the possibility of making the move to middleweight in the UFC. He responded by expressing how comfortable he felt at the higher weight class and suggested that the change could actually enhance his greatest strength, cardio. According to Covington, fighting at 185 pounds would allow him to carry more energy and feel physically stronger without the strain of cutting down to welterweight. He also noted that Rockhold outweighed him by as much as 20 to 30 pounds, yet he still felt like the stronger competitor throughout their match. Covington even hinted that his next appearance could take place at middleweight, teasing a potential high-profile bout. While this is not the first time Covington has discussed moving up in weight, the idea remains divisive among fans. Modern middleweights are significantly larger and more powerful, and Covington has never been viewed as a particularly big welterweight. Additionally, he enters this conversation while coming off back-to-back losses inside the octagon and having dropped 3 of his last 4 UFC bouts, raising questions about whether a weight change would truly reignite his career. The discussion gained further traction after rising UFC middleweight Bo Nickel called out Covington ahead of the Real American Freestyle event. Covington responded with his trademark bravado, dismissing Nickel and accusing him of being unreliable after withdrawing from recent matchups. He criticized Nickel's commitment and questioned his toughness, suggesting that he has no interest in facing opponents he views as quitters. Covington emphasized his loyalty to Real American Freestyle and stated that he only wants to compete against dependable athletes who are willing to show up and perform. He also brushed off concerns about weight discrepancies, pointing out that he willingly competed against a much larger opponent without complaint. Whether Covington ultimately makes the jump to middleweight remains to be seen, but his comments have undeniably added intrigue to the next chapter of his UFC career. Moving on to another news. New training footage of Shavkat Rakhmonov has begun circulating online, sparking renewed excitement around the undefeated welterweight contender's long-awaited return to competition. As several injured fighters prepare to make their way back into the UFC spotlight, Rakhmonov's appearance in the gym has immediately caught the attention of fans and analysts alike. Rakhmonov has not competed since December 2024, when he delivered a composed and dominant unanimous decision victory over Ian Machado Gary. That performance further solidified his reputation as one of the most complete and dangerous fighters in the welterweight division. Since then, injuries have kept him sidelined, creating uncertainty around his timeline and delaying what many believe is an inevitable title run. The recently surfaced footage shows Rakhmonov moving fluidly in training, blending sharp striking with his trademark grappling control. His conditioning, timing, and intensity appear intact, suggesting that his recovery is progressing well. While no official fight announcement has been made, the footage alone has fueled speculation that his return to the octagon could be approaching sooner rather than later. Rakhmonov's absence has been felt across the welterweight landscape. Known for his undefeated record and finishing ability, he has long been viewed as a serious threat to anyone holding UFC gold at 170 pounds. His methodical dismantling of top-level opponents has earned him respect from peers and legends of the sport alike. Among those praising Rakhmonov is UFC heavyweight champion Jon Jones, who has previously spoken highly of the Kazakh standout skill set, composure, and fight IQ. Such praise only adds to the growing belief that Rakhmonov is not merely a contender, but a future champion in waiting. The welterweight division remains one of the deepest and most competitive in the UFC, with multiple contenders jockeying for position. Rakhmonov's eventual return could dramatically shift the title picture, especially if he resumes competition at the same dominant level he displayed before his injury. For now, fans will have to settle for training glimpses and speculation. However, if the footage is any indication, Shavkat Rakhmonov appears focused, healthy, and determined to reclaim his momentum. His return is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated storylines in the UFC, and whenever he steps back into the octagon, expectations will be nothing short of championship level. Moving on to another news. Jon Jones, a fighter who knows better than most what it means to be labeled one of the greatest of all time, recently offered high praise for UFC champion Islam Makhachev. The former light heavyweight and heavyweight title holder has often pushed back against debates that exclude his name from the GOAT conversation. But in a recent interview, Jones made it clear that Makhachev belongs among the sport's elite. Speaking with Red Corner MMA, Jones was asked where he would rank Makhachev in the all-time discussion following Islam's championship victory over Jack Della Maddalena last November. Jones did not hesitate in his response, calling Makhachev one of the greatest fighters the sport has ever seen. He noted that Islam's continued dominance does not surprise him, describing the lightweight champion as a special athlete with rare qualities. According to Jones, certain fighters seem destined for greatness, and Makhachev is one of them. He praised Islam's discipline, consistency, and overall approach to the sport, emphasizing that while there is still work ahead, Makhachev is firmly on the right path. Jones also highlighted the respect he holds for Makhachev, placing him among the fighters he admires most in modern MMA. When examining Makhachev's resume, the praise is understandable. He has not suffered a loss in over a decade and has compiled an impressive run inside the UFC, capturing titles and defeating top-tier competition along the way. As his win streak continues to grow, Makhachev's name is increasingly mentioned not only among the best of his generation, but in broader GOAT discussions as well. However, the pound-for-pound debate remains far from settled. Rising middleweight contender Bo Nickel recently shared his perspective with Helen Yee, naming Ilia Topuria as the current #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Nickel cited Topuria's striking power, grappling ability, and overall well-roundedness, pointing to his recent streak of 3 consecutive finishes as proof of his dominance. Nickel also addressed a potential matchup between Topuria and Makhachev, suggesting that weight would play a significant role depending on whether the fight took place at lightweight or welterweight. Ultimately, Nickel leaned toward Topuria, believing his skill set, power, and adaptability would translate well across divisions. With respected voices offering differing opinions, the debate over MMA's true pound-for-pound king continues to intensify, giving fans no shortage of compelling storylines to follow. Moving on to another news. UFC President Dana White has made his stance clear regarding the upcoming showdown between Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes at UFC 324, calling it the greatest women's fight in mixed martial arts history. Since the bout was officially announced, debate has intensified over whether this matchup truly deserves that distinction, but White appears fully convinced. The highly anticipated contest will see Amanda Nunes come out of retirement to face Kayla Harrison, one of the most accomplished athletes ever to transition into MMA. Harrison, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo, has made a rapid and dominant impact since joining the UFC. In just her 3rd appearance with the promotion, she captured the bantamweight title by submitting Juliana Pena last June, further cementing her status as a legitimate force in the division. Nunes, widely regarded as the greatest female fighter of all time, last competed when she reclaimed the bantamweight championship. Her decision to return was fueled by a personal challenge she set for herself, stating that if Harrison won the title, she would come back to test herself against her. That promise has now become reality. Speaking recently with CBS Sports, Dana White emphasized the magnitude of the matchup. He highlighted Harrison's dominance across multiple organizations and her championship pedigree, while also reinforcing Nunes' legacy as the most accomplished female combat sports athlete in history. According to White, the convergence of these two resumes makes the fight unparalleled in women's MMA. From a historical standpoint, it is difficult to dismiss White's argument. Both fighters bring elite skill sets, championship experience, and proven dominance. However, some fans still point to Nunes' 2018 clash with Chris Cyborg as the benchmark for the greatest women's fight ever. That bout ended Cyborg's decade-long unbeaten streak and was widely celebrated as a defining moment in the sport. Adding to the discussion, MMA Fighting recently spoke with Kayla Harrison's wrestling coach, Steve Mocco, who echoed White's sentiment. Mocco acknowledged the magnitude of the matchup and agreed that Harrison versus Nunes stands among the biggest and most meaningful fights in the history of women's MMA. As anticipation builds toward UFC 324, the question now shifts from legacy to outcome. With 2 all-time greats set to collide, the bout promises to be a defining moment for the sport and could permanently reshape the conversation around the greatest women's fight ever. Moving on to another news. There is encouraging news regarding the status of Alexandre Pantoja, as the former UFC flyweight champion is already back in training following a serious-looking arm injury suffered at UFC 323 in December. Despite concerns at the time of the fight, recent updates suggest that Pantoja's recovery is progressing well and that a return to competition could come sooner than expected. Pantoja's injury initially raised alarms due to its severity and appearance, leading many to speculate about a lengthy layoff. However, those concerns appear to be easing. According to Arman Tsarukyan, a teammate of Pantoja at American Top Team, the flyweight standout has resumed training and is feeling strong. Tsarukyan recently shared the update while speaking with MMA guru and Adin Ross. When asked directly about Pantoja's condition, Tsarukyan confirmed that Pantoja is already back in the gym. He added that not only is Pantoja training again, but he is also feeling healthy and confident in his recovery. Tsarukyan noted that he asked Pantoja about a potential return timeline, and Pantoja indicated that he is targeting a comeback around June or July. If that timeline holds, it would put Pantoja on track to return roughly 6 to 7 months after his December appearance. While that is a relatively quick turnaround given the nature of the injury, it also creates an interesting situation for the UFC's flyweight division. With several months still remaining before Pantoja is expected to be ready, the promotion may opt to move forward with Joshua Van's first title defense rather than placing the division on hold. Van, who currently holds the flyweight championship, is entering a critical phase of his reign, and the UFC historically prefers to keep divisions active when possible. A summer return for Pantoja could set the stage for a major matchup later in the year, whether it be a title fight, a contender bout, or a rematch scenario, depending on how the division unfolds in the coming months. For now, the most important takeaway is that Pantoja's recovery appears to be on track, and his presence back in training suggests that fans may not have to wait much longer to see him back inside the octagon. As more clarity emerges regarding the flyweight title picture, Pantoja's health and availability will remain a key factor to watch.